tub. I do have movies to talk to you about next time, but today I'm talking to you about horror in wrestling. Now, there's a rich history of horror gimmicks in wrestling. Undertaker, Kane, who actually starred in 2 horror movies, See No Evil and its sequel, See No Evil 2. Mick Foley, Mankind, Cactus Jack, definitely, especially with those boiler room segments.
He also had a prominent role in Bree Grant's 12-Hour Shift.
We go further back to Kevin Sullivan, the Prince of Darkness, Abdullah the Butcher. There's even a Leatherface that wrestled in Japan, Freddy Krueger as well. I'm sure some other figures that popped up from time to time. So scary gimmicks and horror gimmicks are nothing new in pro wrestling. There's also been plenty of wrestlers in horror movies. You have Roddy Piper in John Carpenter's They Live. There was a Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies movie. The late Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, aka John Huber.
Should have never come
He was
here.
in Ted Gagan and Grady Hendrix's Mohawk.
Chris Jericho pops up at the end of Terrifier 2.
Please tell me this is pumpkin spice.
Not a chance in hell.
The horror stars have guested on Wrestling 2 like a blatant promotional plug for a Child's Play movie by Chucky. This was in the once large, now defunct WCW. It was shoehorned into a Rick Steiner segment and was so crassly commercial at the time that it got panned. We look back at it now as kind of a cheesy remnant of this dying company, but 25 years later, the wrestling industry can make fun of itself and have Chucky pop up in the locker room of Braun Breaker, who's actually Rick Steiner's son. And it's led to not only a couple of Chucky appearances in WWE, but you also have Liv Morgan popping up on a recent Chucky episode. Alexa Bliss has cosplayed as Chucky before, and Freddy Krueger. She actually does a lot of these kind of cool cosplays. I can't say that WWE's promotion of Army of the Dead starring Batista was handled any better than the old Chucky deal. They just had zombies show up in a match. But at least it looked cooler than the zombie in WWE's version of ECW on Sci-Fi. From zombie to zombie, Z-O-M-B-A-E, this is AEW's Abadon. Not only are they an awesome wrestler, they have a great presence on Instagram and TikTok.
Imagine looking like this.
There's a big movement online for AEW to feature Abadon on more of their shows.
What was exciting this week was to find out that not only is Allie the bunny from AEW in Dr. Death, the new Puppet Master installment,
which had been revealed from some on-set photos that were shared. But with the release of the movie came the news, at least to me, that the Blade is in the film as well, which is awesome. The former Braxton Sutter, the former Pepper Parks, the Blade has worn a very Nightbreed-like mask in the past. Now, it's my understanding that for legal reasons, intellectual property reasons, that mask was modified to this all-black variant at the AEW debut of the Blade.
But both the Bunny and the Blade have been representing horror fandom in pro wrestling for a while now.
You can go download A Slice of Cinema, the Blade's movie podcast now, and hear him talk about horror, 80s sci-fi, all sorts of good, bad stuff.
And Allie does a whole web series called Masters of the Multiverse with Rosemary.
That's Rosemary to the right. Allison Kay, beloved Allison Kay, one of my favorites in the middle there.
Let's look at the origins of Rosemary and Allie.
Now, once upon a time, there was a wrestler named Courtney Rush, and she had a rivalry with a wrestler named Cherry Bomb, who looks a bit like Allie, but we'll talk about that another time. And try as they might, they just did not get along. There was a pivotal attack by Cherry Bomb. Let's hear Courtney talk about it.
She left me humiliated in the ring, chopped off my hair, and everything kind of changed that day.
Clean-cut Canadian babyface Courtney Rush would soon evolve into the demon, Rosemary.
What the hell happened? No. Spinelli, get the hell out of there.
The dynamic changed with Rosemary being the aggressor and her rival having to become sort of a demon slayer in her own right. It culminated in a steel cage match that Rosemary won, but the two figures separated paths for a while. This familiar face is called not Cherry Bomb, but Allie in Impact Wrestling, the likable one in a Mean Girl gang.
I always have been, and I always will be in love with you, Allie.
And that guy looks like the Blade is named Braxton Sutter. Meanwhile, also in Impact Wrestling, the demon Rosemary shows up to lead a group called Decay. Their first major rivalry is with the Hardys.
Matt Hardy, no stranger to horror himself, not only was the broken Matt Hardy character partially inspired by Vampire Bill from True Blood, but a lot of the development of his character and the production of his segments was the work of Rebby Hardy. She used to wrestle as Rebby Sky, and if you follow her on TikTok, you see that she is all about the goth, the horror stuff. She's great. I love her. And she definitely has a great touch of that in the work she has done with Broken Matt.
So imagine these two forces colliding. I mean, Decay was going to kidnap the Hardy's kid and turn him into Rosemary's baby.
Axel will be free to join his true family. Not his obsolete uncle. Not his broken father. And not his pathetic, unfit mother.
I was sincerely more emotionally invested in this feud than I am about any other movie or TV show or book ever. Decay would come up on the losing end of that feud. The Hardys would move on to other companies, and so did Rosemary's compadres in Decay, causing their rivals to have a mock funeral for them. This demon, left alone, became more sympathetic. And so when Allie's group turned on her for her relationship with Braxton, an unlikely savior came along.
Wait a minute. Rosemary! Doubts have Allie and a bit. Oh, wait a minute!
My goddessness to the face of Sienna!
Can't believe it. Didn't expect to see this from the Knockouts champion. A woman who has shown no affiliation to anyone in the Knockouts division.
All this time later, Cherry Bomb and Courtney Rush are now Allie and Rosemary, best of friends. In this fact, where the bunny nickname I heard for the first time.
Hi. I'm Allie, little bunny.
But Allie and Rosemary's past as Courtney and Cherry Bomb would pop up on the subsequent web series. And Masters of the Multiverse established these as 4 separate characters. Things in Impact Wrestling eventually get so wild that the same dark forces that created Rosemary also possess Allie, and Rosemary has to take her to the Dark Realm to undo the damage. Rosemary's rival in this is Sue Young, the Undead Bride, who takes inspiration from other facets of the horror genre. But it's quite a legend in the horror wrestling intersection that reveals himself to intervene in this situation. The Prince of Darkness, Kevin Sullivan!
You, of all people, know how this is gonna end.
Allie is made whole again, but loses her life and disappears from Impact Wrestling.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm whole again.
While this to date has been their last collaboration on a national wrestling show, and the web series has been on an extended hiatus, we now enjoy Braxton Sutter, the Blade, and his tag partner, the Butcher, reunited with Allie as a new incarnation of the Bunny.
Now what? Well, now we know who brought him here. It's the Bunny, Allie. Got the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny.
And Rosemary continues to be one of the stars and driving creative forces of the women's division in Impact, even promoting a horror movie.
Behold, the inhabitants.
And now it occurs to me that I better check out this movie and review it on the show. I mean, Rosemary said so. Here's an epilogue for you with some good news. We do get to see these two reunited every once in a while on the convention circuit.
Yeah! Didn't you die? I came back to life. Oh.
So I will see you on the other side, and until then, I remain Hub.